In my previous video, I talked about variables and how they are containers to store things. These things are referred to as data, and there are several types of data. Hi, my name is Fashina Emiko, and welcome to Web Dev in 10. JavaScript data types are divided into two major categories. These are primitive and non-primitive data types. Primitive data types are the fundamental building blocks of JavaScript. They are built into the language and cannot be created from other data types. Just like how our primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, cannot be created by mixing other colors, primitive data types exist in their purest form. They are basically like atoms in the JavaScript world. Sorry for bringing chemistry in today's, but it's just for you to better understand this. Examples of data types in these categories are string, number, boolean, null, undefined, and symbol. Now let's check out these data types in our code editor before moving to non-primitive data types. Okay, so the first thing you will do is open a folder in your VS Code or whatever IDE you are using and create an app.js file and an index.html file. After creating your index.html file, just add whatever you see here to your file and link your app.js to your index.html file using this. And also, I started my live server using the Go Live extension, which you can see right here. Now in my app.js, the first primitive data type I'll be talking about is the number data type. So how do we store a number inside a variable? If you don't know how variables work, check out my previous video where I explained how you create your variables and what they are used for. So now all you have to do is just press let's say age is equal to, what number do you want to store inside this variable? Let's say 34. If you save this automatically means you save the data type number inside the age variable. Now let's check if our number is really stored inside the age variable. We'll do this using console.log age. Save this and then press Ctrl+Shift+I in your browser to see your console. As you can see here, you can see 34, which means number 34 has been stored in our age container. You might see me calling variable container as we go along in this tutorial, but don't worry, anytime you hear me say container, just know I'm referring to a variable. Now how do we know that the type we stored is actually a number? I know it's very obvious, you say this is very obvious that 34 is a number, but just to confirm and be sure that the type is actually a number, all you have to do is use this built-in JavaScript keyword called typeof. Just put it right in front of your variable and it's the type of data stored in the variable. So right here in front here, or let's console log it again, console.log type of age. Just like that, you can see number. So the type of data stored in this age variable is number. But you know, numbers come in different form. We have integer, floating point, we have binary, octadecimal, and hexadecimal. And I'd like to show you this so that in case you see an hexadecimal data and you see the type of as number, you should not be confused on how is this a number, what am I talking about. We know this is an integer, put a decimal point and put values there. We have this as a floating point. If I save this, the type is still number. If I want to display a binary, the syntax is putting a 0 and then B and whatever your binary is. Our binary is just zeros and ones, so that's 1010. So this is a binary number. If I should save this in the console, it has automatically converted it to decimal and then the type is still number. If you see this on a normal day, you're going to be like, there's a letter B inside. That's not a number, but that's actually a number, which is why if you're confused about the type of data it is, just console log it to check the type of data it is. And then if you want to check an octadecimal, that's easy. Just change the B to an O and then type in whatever number you want. Let's say, save this. You can see our conversion to decimal and also a type number. And then if you do an hexadecimal, you can just change this to X. And just like that, we've talked about our binary, hexadecimal, octal, floating point, and integer. They are all type number, but they come in different shape. But there's a particular type of integer that JavaScript specifically takes care of. Its type is different, but it's also a number. This is called big int. A big integer is denoted by numbers followed by a letter N, which you can see right here. The main reason JavaScript introduced this is because a safe integer value should not be greater than 2 raised to the power 53 minus 1. To avoid inaccuracy and precision errors when doing calculations. But if you want a number bigger than this, you have to let JavaScript know this number is bigger than the safe integer. So this is a big integer. That's why you have to denote it with this letter N. So now that we've talked about the data type number and we know the several forms the number can come in, let's move to a string. So a string is basically anything inside a double quotation mark. So if I should put all this inside a double quotation mark, can you see there's a double quotation mark here at the start and at the end? Just know this has been turned to a type string. If I should save this, you can see the type string right here. So this has been turned into a string. Strings are not just words or letters you want to type. It can come in anything. You can have symbols, you can have anything, you can have numbers inside, but as long as it's inside a double quotation mark, refer it to it as strings. If I should put 34 here, and I assume that, oh, JavaScript should know that 34 is a number. That's wrong. JavaScript is actually very stupid. It cannot know if it is a number unless you show it that this is a number. In this case, you are telling it it's inside a double quotation mark, so this is a string. If I should save this, you're going to see 34 of type string. Now there's one more thing I actually want to show you. Let's say I put another age 2, but this time I actually wrote a number 34. If I should console log this second age, you're going to see that the 34 comes in different colors in the browser. This is one way for you to identify if there's a bug in your program. If you console log a number and you see it's coming in a white color or maybe black, it's not colored like this number here, just know you have an error, you have a string and not a number. So this is a number and this is a string. So that's the only thing about strings. Just know that anything inside a double quotation mark is treated as a string. Now the next one is a boolean. What are booleans? Boolean is basically just true or false. Is this true or is this false? Boolean comes in those two values alone, just true or false. So if I should say let eating be true, if I should console log this, let me remove this. You're going to see true right there. And if I should check the type, you're going to see boolean. But be careful, JavaScript boolean is case sensitive. So if I should put a capital letter T here, it's going to treat this as another variable that it is undefined. It does not know what that is, but it has to be a small letter T for it to know that you're talking about a boolean. Same goes with false. If you put false, that is going to be fine, but if you put a capital letter, that's going to give you reference error. Now that we've checked number, we've checked string, and we've checked boolean, now let's move to undefined. What is undefined? Undefined is basically a value given by JavaScript to let you know that you are trying to access data that you've not yet assigned. Let's say I create a variable x. I didn't put in any value. That means it is empty, but I try to console log it. You can see right here it gives undefined. It means that you're trying to console log a data that does not exist yet. You've declared the variable, but you don't have any data inside. So the data is not defined. That's the meaning of undefined right here. And if you also check the type, you're going to see it's also going to give you undefined. So that's the type given to you by JavaScript. And the same goes for null. Null also tells you that they are trying to access a value that does not exist. So what the difference between null and undefined is, null is assigned by the developer itself, denoting that there is no value in this variable. But for undefined, even though you can also assign undefined is usually from JavaScript itself telling you that there is no value in this variable. So I can say let x equals null. If you console log it, you're going to say null, which means there's no value inside this variable. But if you notice, the type of x is object here. Why is that? It's not an object. It's supposed to give you null, just like undefined gave undefined. But this is some kind of error that has been around for a very long time, that null gives you a type of object, which is why you have to be careful when using null. So that's it for null and undefined. And then for the most recent data type of all, which is symbol, this primitive data type is used to create a unique identifier for a particular variable. Let's create a variable called let id equals, so the syntax is symbol, and then open a bracket and call it whatever you like. Let's say id. If I should save this, JavaScript has secretly created a unique symbol for this ID and has stored it in this container. But one thing is, if I should console.log this, dash console.log id, and also the type. You're going to see it right here that it just prints out exactly what is here. So where is the unique identifier? Where is it? You can't physically see it here, but just know that JavaScript has secretly created a unique identifier. Why is that? How do I just access this? Let's try to create another ID with the same syntax, symbol, ID. I should console log this as well. You can see right there, they are both symbol ID, symbol ID. They have the same value. So how is this unique? How is this different? How you know it is unique? If you're comparing them together, check if they are equal to each other. And how do you do this? You just do console.log ID is ID1 equal ID2. If I should save this, you're going to see false right here. It means ID1 is not equal to ID2, which means they are not the same. Even if you create 3 or 4 of these containers with the same ID, it's still going to give you a different value. This symbol here actually has several methods, but I won't be talking about the methods at the moment because you don't even know what a class is, you don't know what functions is. We're going to talk more about this once we talk about functions and classes. Before then, just know that you can create a unique ID using this symbol, and also make sure you understand all other primitive data types. Now that we understand primitive data types, let's move to non-primitive data types. Non-primitive data types are data structures built from primitive data types. So basically they consist of multiple values. A non-primitive data type can have the value of a string, a number, a boolean, and so on. There are 3 major examples of non-primitive data type. We have arrays, objects, and functions. I'll briefly explain these 3 because they are more complex and need a deeper explanation, which is why I'm going to be creating separate videos explaining each one of them. But for now, I just want you to see what they look like. So the first non-primitive data type is an array. An array consists of several values. So let's say we have a container, container. And by the way, when I said container, I meant a variable is equal to, the first step in creating an array is to have a square bracket. This indicates an array. This is an empty array. Once you have a square bracket stored in a container, JavaScript automatically knows you're trying to create an array. At the moment, we have an empty array, but we can add several values inside and separating them using commas. So I can have a number 23, then comma. You can add a string of I am nice. Yeah, yes I am. And then you can even have a boolean of false, and you can of course have a symbol of dope. I should save this and I should console log it, the container. Let me remove these previous console logs. And by the way, this is called a comment. It's just like adding a description to your code, so it's not visible to JavaScript. And then let's console log the type. When we console log our container, we add an array of data, but you realize the type of is object, not array. Why is that? This is because all non-primitive data types has a type of object, except from function, which has a type of function. But why didn't we just categorize everything as object? This is because they all come in different shapes and formats. Arrays are different from objects and they are different from functions. Their syntax are completely different, so we can't just categorize all of them as objects. Now let's create an object. To create an object, let me create another container and then equate it, container2 and equal to. To create an object, the first thing you have to do is add a curly brace. So once you add a curly brace, this has denoted that you are creating an object. The difference between an array and an object is an object has a key and a value. You don't just put in this value straight up. They have to have a key identifier. What's this key identifier? This 23, let's assume is an age. We have to have age, put a column, and then put the value. So can you see the difference between this array and this object here? If we want to put this, let's say a bio, and then put in I am nice. and then eating, put in false. So can you see this is an object, but for each item there you have to have a key, which is the age here, and a value for that key. So if I should save this, let's console log container 2 as well. If I should save this, we can see they both have a type object, but their values are different. Now for the last type of non-primitive data type, let me store this inside another container. The syntax to create a function is just put function, add parentheses, and then curly braces. And inside this you can put in whatever code you like. We'll talk about functions later. Right now it might be confusing, but just for you to know what it looks like and also know about non-primitive data types, that's why we are doing this. But I should console log this as well, container 3. You are going to see it has a type of function. So it is the only non-primitive data type that has a type of function, and also the main reason we cannot categorize all non-primitive data type as objects. So that's the difference between primitive and non-primitive data type. If you have any questions or you have any confusions, just let me know in the comment section and I'm going to create a video explaining it. But don't worry about this non-primitive data type if you don't understand at the moment. All you have to know is all of them have a type of object except from the function, and there are also other types of non-primitive data type, but these are the three major ones. But in upcoming videos I'm going to be explaining them individually. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Bye.